Good afternoon, I'm Paul Murphy with the Janesville Town Square Grand Prix. And one of the things you really have to understand is the volunteers. You know, there are volunteers that'll do an event once. That's the last time you'll see them because you didn't treat them right, you tried to treat them like an employee. And so I think the key is understand that it's a person who freely offers to take part in an enterprise or to take a task, a person who works for an organization without being paid. Two things you need in an event. You need volunteers and porta potties. And then you have John Westfall get you the money. But anyways, non-employee treat your volunteers knowing that without them, your event can't go on. You can get the money, no volunteers, you're doing it yourself. Be a volunteer yourself. Learn about an event and learn not what to do. Prior to the Janesville Town Square coming to Janesville, I volunteered 4 years in a row at separate events, and I did it to learn what not to do. And one of the things was the volunteering is I'm told I'm supposed to go here to check in. Nobody's around to tell me what to do. So you go to the next place closest. Is the I think they're over there. So, number one, have a good point of volunteer check-in and make sure the people where you're checking in know what you're doing, know what they're supposed to do. So the volunteer center, central point, good check-in, check-out, and take care of volunteer issues. Be active in your community, church, service club, associations. Don't plan an event and think that you're going to get people to help you out when you've never helped them out. If you're one that has this great idea for an event and people have asked you to volunteer, I'm busy, oh, I don't have time. You'll find if you get volunteers based off of that. Speak at service clubs and give presentations of your event before and after. Janesville's got a great base of service clubs. Both Rotary clubs, the noon in the morning, the Golden Caves, the Optimist, all that stuff. They really enjoy having speakers come, talking about the event, before the event, and like John had mentioned over at his talk about the fundraising, they want to know the inside track. So if you bit about something different at this year's event, but then they always love to volunteer. They're always looking to volunteer. The Golden Caves, for example, they volunteer the whole day at one particular crosswalk for us. What a great benefit. Clears out five slots for the whole day. Can't beat that. High school service clubs are good. You know, you've got the Octagon Club, which is the offshoot of the Optimist. You got the Leo Club, which is part of the Lions Club. And then you got also the National Honor Society. Those kids need service hours. They're a great source for volunteers. The updated organizer, let's just go here. Okay. First of all, before we get to that, inform your volunteers with as much information as they have, because many times that's the first person that they see is when they, for our particular event, crosswalks. Those people are ambassadors to Janesville. When somebody from a visitor to town comes up and asks the person at the crosswalk, what race is going on now? You provide them with the lanyard so that you've got a map on it so they can tell you, well, you want to get over to the looking glass? Well, you're right here, and they can show the map a little bit, but then what race is going on now? You got all the information, so arm your volunteers with as much information as you can. even over at Tallman House for the Arts Festival, I'm sure that the people that are there need to know where, I'm looking for this one particular booth. They do this. So tools are important. Also, at your check-in, at your volunteer check-in, provide them with proper protocol so they know exactly what they're supposed to do. They can take this sheet with them and they understand what they're supposed to do with their crossing guard, or if you have, whatever your event is, if there is a particular process that they're supposed to follow, make sure they understand. So that's a good point to have, a good piece of paper to have at your centralized volunteer check-in point. The event that we bring in is part of the Tour of America's Dairyland. So what we are to do is, they bring the circus to town. We're responsible for everything outside the big top 10. Crosswalks is a key part. They have the see something, say something established, and so we make sure that all of our volunteers understand that and know the proper protocol. And as you can see, a car driving inside the course, it looks like it's plans to cross the course. A person wearing a winter parka when it's 90 degrees out. There are some indicators that, as a crosswalk person, tell somebody, tell a person of authority, or get with, we have course marshals, wave them down. They can radio to John and I, and also when they radio to us, the police department and fire department are monitoring, and there's many times where they've already started to check out a situation before they're done, before whoever's talking is done with the conversation. So if you need something like that, have that in place. With that, I'm done.
Question.
Yes?
You should touch on, volunteer organizations, signup.com, stuff like that. Much popular.
Signup.com. We've used signup.com. That is a great resource. And I've offered it to anybody. I subscribe for it for a full year. I use it for the race, and I use it for a couple other things. But there's about 50 other weeks a year that any organization that would like to use it, you can sit down in my office, put your information in. But its real key is that you're able to put the proper text and the proper job description. They go out to the link, and it sends out reminder emails to people, but also at the day of the event, I print off a sheet. It shows exactly who's volunteered, where they're supposed to be, all that information. I give it to our volunteer coordinator, and that's what she uses all day. She just goes and checks off, and it's a great system. So if you have some form of a managed software package, a subscription service, if you don't, because you don't want to pay the price, get a hold of me and I'll gladly have you sit down and do it. And you can only have one administrator, and I don't want to give out the password because it could affect my setup. But just so you know, is this year's event is on June 16th. June 17th, I will duplicate for next year and start thinking. So go ahead.
What does something like that cost?
It depends on what service you get. You can see anywhere from $400 to $600 a year.
Sign Up Genius has a free account that I get by with for 50 or less volunteers. And we can share that all out too in your follow-up. If anybody has a service they love or hate, we're going to give you that opportunity to follow up and say, man, I love this vendor, or I don't love this vendor. So, and I know Becky's got a pretty elaborate system. You'll probably use something too. So, great time for you guys to jump in.
Right. So we use, at Rock County Historical Society, we use Volgistics because we're developing our volunteers. We have so many ongoing needs literally every single day. It's not just a one-off event. And we really want to get to know our people. So we have our goals for our organization every year that change, but there's two goals that my staff has constantly, and that is we're ensuring optimum guest experience, and second to that is optimum volunteer experience. So we have 4 scheduled volunteer appreciation events throughout the year. Our Tallman Arts Festival is probably the biggest day that we have volunteers. So what we've been doing the last 2 years is we've divided my team into captains for different work zones or work topics. And that has worked very well. So not everyone's like coming to one person or coming to the volunteer person. They have that team captain that they can go to, and that can handle things a lot easier for them. Plus repetition, obviously, you just keep fine-tuning. After your event, the most important thing you can do is have a follow-up meeting with the people that were the volunteers and the people that were running it, and listen to what they have to say and bring them in. So we're also doing smaller volunteer events. For example, like for just the people that give tours in the Lincoln Tallman House, we have a program called Cocktails with a Curator, where it all starts in the carriage house. We give them a glass of wine or a beer, whatever they want. And then we go into the house and talk about things that are new and different, and it gets them very excited. It gets them feeling like they're a much bigger part of it. So there's two veins of this, like the one-day event versus the development of an individual to do that. So we'll have a handful of people that will come in during our winter times when we're not open to the public and just work in the archives, scanning photographs, getting things ready for that, studying for a different tour that they want to give or anything else along those lines. And then we'll have a person that'll show up for one event 1 year during the entire year, and they're both treated exactly the same. They're invited to all the appreciation things. Many times they come to those because there's food with that. So the other part of that for us is the board really knows how important this is. So these events where we're doing, like after the Tallman Arts Festival, we'll do a cookout. The board and staff pay for all of that for the volunteers. So I think giving people a sense that they're being heard and that what they're doing is of true value is really important to them.
Sure, I'll just add, at Rotary Botanical Gardens, we honestly would cease to exist if we didn't have volunteers to help us. We've got a 20-acre property. We have special events. We have gardening, in season, of course. And if we didn't have volunteers, forget it. We'd be done. So that's a constant challenge for us is with, especially the gardening. We've started to see some of our volunteer population aging, and so continually trying to find new volunteers to replace those who maybe can't bend down and do as much weeding as they used to. And, continuing that volunteer recruitment on a year-round basis is extremely, extremely important for us. And we do use Signupcom, also Volgistics as well, to communicate with volunteers. And, just really keeping those open lines of communication. Our volunteer coordinator does a monthly email that she sends out through Volgistics just to try and keep people updated on here are some upcoming events and here's where we can use your help. And just really, it's in addition to what we're doing with regular communication to anybody on our mailing list. It's just special to them. And, that communication is just so very important. And then when it comes to bigger events like our holiday light show where, we need upwards of 30 to 40 people to volunteer every night of the show, which last year was 25 nights. I think we have 25 or 26 slated for 2022. With those kinds of numbers, it is even more critical that we're doing that recruitment and keeping those lines of communication open and finding people to help us fill those slots. I know you touched on National Honor Society, local business people, service clubs. That's a big audience for us too, as far as reaching out for help. And the more fun you can make it, I think the better. Whatever your event might be, if you can make it a positive experience for your volunteers, they're going to want to be a part of it. And for us, it's how many people came tonight and how many lights do we have, and arming them with information so that they can help share those fun facts about your event or whatever might be taking place that they're helping at. Makes them feel more a part of it, and keeping them really informed, and so that they feel that they can help share information and be really excited about whatever it is you're promoting or whatever event it might be is very important as well.
And also, one of the things, one-day event, people from 42 states, 10 countries prior to COVID. Last year it was just 42 states, 6 countries. They asked the volunteers, what do you do in Janesville? Well, a volunteer that has knowledge of, hey, Rotary Gardens, the Tallman House is right up there. They're great ambassadors. And going back to Tim's point about after an event, you meet right away and figure out and just tweak the event, make it a little bit better. Last year, feedback that I got on the Friday event was about, hey, we need to get the water out to the volunteers quicker. So on Saturday morning, the 18th of June, what I did is I ordered 2 insulated backpacks that'll hold 28 bottles of water that this year, good chance I'll be wearing one. I don't care if I have to wear one all day, but take care of those volunteers. If you get that little tidbit of information, what will enhance their experience better? And also, really look at your volunteer bases. Is that we were originally going to go back to the old course going around Milwaukee Street compared to the dog bone course that we're going to stay with. To go to the old course, 125 volunteers to run that in a day. The dog bone course we can get by with 69. So as as that volunteer base shrinks, maybe relook and see what your volunteer needs are. And for us, for our event, set up, take down, making sure that the pedestrians and the cyclists are safe, so we protect the crosswalks. So relook at your positions that you have as volunteers, base is shrinking as is that. Make sure the key critical areas for volunteers you have.
The other thing I would suggest too, thank you, is don't forget to track the hours of the volunteers that are working. So we exclusively use Logistics, and folks can go out there, we post the positions and whatnot. But as far as them like literally checking in and checking out the day of, we actually have a person that goes back in and does that for them. So it's kind of, I always say, remember the humanistic aspect of this. If I'm going to volunteer, I don't want to log into some website, search for something. It's like, get on the phone, call these people. There's so many different ways to do it. Logistics really helps us keep organized. But at the end of the day, knowing on an annual basis how many volunteer hours are being committed to your organization helps you with grant writing, helps you in marketing, helps you in all different types of things to gain leverage, getting sponsorship, because people understand that obviously the community is truly vested and interested in what you're doing. So.
And being a part of the bicycle club, we have 200 plus members. Not all the volunteers are bicyclists. It's like any other thing, 20-80, but we might have 10 to 15% of the volunteers are members of the Velo Club. The other 85% are Janesville community members, and that's why we have this event is for Janesville. It's our hometown, our downtown, our passion, and that's our mission statement.
I was just going to say that for those of you that use especially high school students, I work at Craig, and I help organize a lot of that outreach stuff. So I do know that kids talk of events where you guys keep track of and are timely with returning the information of how many hours they spent working for you, because they need that toward graduation. And so they will tell their friends. That word of mouth for volunteering even starts at the high school level. So.
I'll give another plug for the school. We got involved with the Elevate program this year to analyze an aspect of our business, and the feedback was incredible. But any project, anything you're doing that you're like, is this the best way, or how do I resonate with a younger audience, or that, get these high school kids involved, because we learned so much from what they did, including that Janesville history is not taught in the high school anymore. So we're already putting together a solution for that, where we can come in and help them with that. Kids that grew up here didn't even know anything about where we're at, any of that stuff. Or I was there in 3rd grade and I never wanted to come back. Well, it's an opportunity to teach them why they want to come back, So there's a lot more to glean from that.
And we are doing a lot more. If you guys do need volunteers at Craig, we are starting up a special thing that is going to go out to kids virtually and tangibly, so that way they know volunteer opportunities, internship opportunities, working opportunities with your events and things like that. So please let us know, because that's working with our business and our Elevate team.
Right.
We're trying to put that together to make it easier for you guys too.
Right.
Just a question about how has COVID impacted your numbers? And do you see that, like, your events in 2022, are we starting to return to, I mean, did you see a huge, obviously, everybody saw a huge drop off and some of the events didn't take place, but how do you see your volunteer base being continued to be impacted by?
In 2021 in spring, so about a year ago, I trained 14 new docents, tour guides that have never before. In the 3 years prior to that, I think if there were 5 total for those 3 years. So I think the pandemic allowed people to kind of like relook at their surroundings, what's important about where they are. The home building, home remodeling, is you're also thinking about where you're physically located as well. And I think that really actually had a positive impact for us.
Okay.
And we were blessed because it was really the first activity post-COVID that people felt comfortable doing. So we had no problem filling, even for the 2 days. And there again, the high schoolers needed a lot of service time. So last year, there was probably 3 slots that we didn't get filled, but we have a plan and backup that takes care of that.
Great, thank you.
Who do we contact at the schools? What position are you?
I'm in the student center, and I'm happy to give you my school contact information if you would like. Yeah.
So at Parker, it would be the same?
I don't know at Parker, but I'm happy to find out for you.
Okay, because that would be very helpful to just know
Yeah, absolutely.
what office to contact.
Milton High School is the same way. The students are looking for volunteer hours.
That's another thing with Elevate. They thought, oh, we're going to learn how to give a tour. It's like, you can come and work in the office. You can come and help us with our venue. You can come and help us with the lawn. I mean, there's like 20 different things that they could come and help us. And they were like, wow, this is really great, just thinking of those opportunities, and don't shy away from, oh, it's just easier if I just do it myself. Getting the engagements is important as getting the work done.
Well, plus we're losing a lot of our volunteers because we're much older, and some of the kids have no clue what it is to volunteer. So reaching out to the schools is huge to me.
I found our older demographic of volunteers really enjoy working with the students as well. It adds to the reward.
All right, well, thank you very much. And now we'll break for the next session. Let's give everybody a round of applause.